First, let's start off with ozone depletion. Here are the layers of the atmosphere. Here you see the troposphere, which is the layer that the Earth is in, where all the weather occurs, and the bad ozone. The next is the stratosphere, which is where the good ozone occurs. And next is the mesosphere, and after that is the thermosphere. There are many effects taken to stop ozone depletion, such as the Montreal Protocol. In 1987, an act was passed in over 180 countries to stop the CFCs from being used and produced. Different types of ozone: ground level and stratospheric ozone. Ground level ozone is bad and it's caused by pollutants from human activities. Stratospheric ozone is good and it blocks harmful UV rays from hitting the Earth. Ground level ozone is produced when oxygen is exposed to high energy, which is a health hazard because it's a key ingredient in smog. It's an air pollutant that damages human health and vegetation. Stratospheric ozone blocks UV rays and helps protect us, but when it's damaged from ozone depletion, when stratospheric ozone is depleted, it increases cancer in humans, living things, and disrupts photosynthesis. Solutions to ground level ozone is to use fuel-efficient products and conserve energy wherever you go to reduce emissions. The hole in the ozone is located in the Antarctic from cold temperature in the Arctic winter mixed with the strong winds that create polar stratospheric clouds. Above the continent, they create a vortex that stops the chlorine atoms from attacking the ozone and are set in the vortex for destruction by a trigger. The trigger is later set when the sun rises in spring that causes all the chlorine atoms to attack the ozone, which leaves a hole in the ozone and it's forever depleted. The solution to the hole in the ozone is to remove the chlorine from the stratosphere and to stop producing chlorofluorocarbons, or CFCs.
Causes of global climate change.
Some of the greenhouse gases are carbon dioxide, nitrous oxide, and methane, and water vapor. Some of the ways that they are formed are from deforestation, agriculture, phosphorus, fuel burning, landfills, and factories. Also, for water vapor, it evaporates from the ocean. Some greenhouse effects the causes are the sun from infrared and ultraviolet rays. The second one is greenhouse gases. And the third one would be oceans from storing carbon dioxide and heat, which is stored in other areas. Some of the EAP regulated air pollutants there's 6 of them, which are the criteria pollutants. The first one's ozone, the second one is particulate matter, the third one is carbon monoxide, the fourth one is nitrous oxide, the fifth one is sulfur dioxide, and the sixth one's lead. The Clean Air Act requires states to develop a general plan to attack and maintain NASQs in all areas of the country. Specific plans to attain the standards for each area designated non-attainment for the National Embedment Air Quality Standards. El Niño and La Niña are fluctuations in air currents over the ocean. The 2 environmental effects of them are that they affect the U.S. climate patterns and produce opposite climate variations. Major types of fuel types are clean air coal, natural gases, and oils. The pros of clean air coal are that there are abundant supplies, it's inexpensive, and produces continuous power. Cons are that it's non-renewable, it's infinite supplies, which means it runs out eventually. It contains CO2 and contributes to global warming. Some of the pros for natural gases are that it's widely used, deliberately manufactured, emits less CO2 than coal and oil, and is the cleanest fossil fuel. Some cons are it's non-renewable, it does emit CO2, it contains methane, and it's highly explosive. Some of the pros of oil are you can handle it easily, it's stored and transportable, and it's more cost efficient. Some of the cons are it emits CO2s, it's explosive, and it's harvested offshore, which means it infects habitats in the ocean.
This is Solutions to Climate Change. The Kyoto Protocol was a deal made between countries to reduce carbon and pollution emissions, made on February 16, 2005, where it was adopted in countries such as Bulgaria, Czech Republic, Estonia, Latvia, Liechtenstein, Canada, but Canada later withdrew on December 15, 2012, and Ukraine. Debates over the Kyoto Protocol include that it doesn't go far enough to reduce pollution emissions, and the costs outweigh the benefits. A criticizer of this protocol is James Hansen from NASA, where he argues that there should be a carbon tax instead of the cap-and-trade system that the Kyoto Protocol is based off of. Carbon offsets are a reduction in carbon emissions where they compensate for the offset or release of a greenhouse gas elsewhere, such as if one business releases too much carbon, another business is required to release less, so that the same amount is still in the atmosphere. There are 6 categories of carbon offsets or greenhouse gases that are released, measured in metric tons, and that is carbon dioxide, methane, nitrous oxide, perfluorocarbons, hydrofluorocarbons, and sulfur hexacarbons. There are 2 main markets in carbon offsets, one being the larger compliance market, full of companies, governments, and industries, where they are more cap and buy rights, where they release as much carbon as they want and they buy the rights from smaller businesses, where the other market would be the smaller voluntary market, including individuals, companies, and governments, where they cut down on their emissions in order to sell their rights to the larger markets who release too much. The CDM, which is the Clean Development Mechanism, which is more popular than the Kyoto Protocol. Some renewable fuel types include biofuels, such as vegetable oil used as car fuel, wind or solar energy, which is good for sustainability, such as wind farms and windmills. Some pros include that it generates a lot of energy, but some cons are that it is not reliable. Some examples of this would be hydroelectric dams in the ocean. Solar energy, an example of that would be solar panels. Some pros include that it saves energy and it's efficient, but a con would be that it costs a lot of money and is expensive for the environment. Another reusable energy is hydropower, such as hydroelectric dams. Pros of this would be it creates lots of electricity and can harbor plenty of energy for a community. Cons of this would be it displaces wildlife where it would be placed. A last example is biofuels, such as vegetable oil used for car fuel instead of gasoline. A pro of this would be that it minimizes pollutants because it doesn't produce as much greenhouse gases such as gasoline would emitted from a car. But a downside to it is it's hard to attain and hard to transfer to. You don't find many cars with the option.
These are some effects of global climate change. So first I'll talk about positive feedback loops. They are something and they tend to speed up a certain process. That's kind of vague, but like an example would be the ice albedo positive feedback loop. And it's when like ice melts over land and water, and then the albedo of the land or water is less than it would be of the ice. So then more solar energy is absorbed, and then more ice melts, and then it just keeps speeding up. Industrial smog is the product of coal-fueled fires from factories, and it's most intense during the morning, and it mostly contains sulfur dioxide and particulate matter, and it has more immediate health effects than photochemical smog because its main byproduct is acid rain. Photochemical smog happens when volatile organic compounds mix with fossil fuel emissions and sunlight. They create ozone in the troposphere, which is toxic to humans, creates some pretty bad lung tissue damage. The temperature changes that accompany global climate change are kind of obvious. Like basically it's just intensified. Same goes for precipitation, and then as the Earth heats up, that means the ice is going to melt in the Arctic and the Antarctic and all over the world. Your sea levels are going to rise, between 8 and 88 millimeters by the year 2100. Between 1979 and 2005, Earth has already lost 20% of all the ice. And this is an example of the positive feedback loop, like I said earlier. Also, some changes in biota will happen because certain species, especially amphibians, are very volatile to like changes in your environment. A few degrees even would just would cause some pretty bad extinctions. Proxy indicators are like indicators that tell us about the climate, and those include ice cores. Ice cores have little air bubbles trapped in them, and scientists use them to predict 600,000 years back what our climate, our temperature has been like, and they can see that it's fluctuated a lot. And tree cores give us an idea of precipitation, like year by year, based on the size of the rings. And then ocean sediment can indicate like the amounts of pollutants and greenhouse gases that have like settled at the bottom. And the rate of coral growth gives an idea of how productive the environment is, and also like change in temperature of the oceans. I don't know. And that's all I have to say. Twerk! With Jesus! Pollution is bad!
Protocol was
Wait, no, you have to introduce your section.
I'm doing solutions to climate change.
That looks...
But it takes up a lot of space.
Ew, why do they taste so bad? Positive feedback loops, you guys.
Oh man. Such as the I honestly hate my life. Like
Dude, you're gonna have the most outtakes, I think.
I hate Triscuits. Okay.
I want to see what that looks like. No, it's like you could be a Triscuit model. Okay, talk now. It's a good shot, I swear. At least I'm pretty.